Shout out to Taylor for pulling up. That was pretty ballsy. Yeah. I just thought it was awesome how everybody in the suite had nothing but great things to say about her. You know, the friends and family. She looked amazing. Everybody was talking about her in great light. It was absolutely like to see the slow motion chest bumps, to see the high fives with mom, to see how, you know, Chiefs Kingdom was all excited that she was there. That was absolutely hysterical, and it was definitely a game I'll remember. That's for damn sure.
What's up, y'all? So I want to make it very clear. I give zero shits about Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, his ex-girlfriend, and this whole dating rumor. However, I think this is a fantastic case study. There's a point here about intergender and interracial dynamics, particularly in the modern day. So most of us, if you're not living under a rock or familiar with Taylor Swift, one of the biggest artists in our lifetime, primarily because she embodies the every girl next door aesthetic and sound, right? She appeals to the largest demographic in the country, which is white folks, and more specifically, white women.
Isn't it crazy that Taylor Swift put that guy Travis Kelce on the map? Like, he literally blew up now. Like, no one knew who he was before. Him and his friend, Moans, that waved to her.
Oh my God.
13 years ago, or 14 years ago, Taylor Swift came out with a song called You Belong With Me. And ironically, this is literally what's playing out, right? In the song, she says, she wears short shorts, I wear t-shirts. She's chair captain and I'm on the bleachers. Basically saying that she is a better fit for this guy than the girl that he's with. Ironically, in the music video, the guy is a wide receiver. Travis Kelce is a tight end. Both football players. And again, this is this came out in 2009, right? And basically in the song, and I think in life, the point is what we assume sells and what we assume wins doesn't always sell or win. And the sell and win isn't always sustainable. And in this case, a lot of our women, unfortunately, believe that attractiveness, sex appeal, intelligence, financial success, social status is what sells and is what wins with men. However, the reality is very different. And, you know, I've been pulling my hair out trying to make that point to women. I think recently Ebony K. Williams had a change of heart. So she made the point and people are acting like it's gospel, even though Kevin Samuels died with that same message.
I'm single, very single, extremely single. This is the most single that I've been probably since I was born.
What does it take for you to be like genuinely attracted to a guy?
Yeah. One being personality, two being looks, ambition, career, drive, financial stability, no kids, no previous marriages, never been to jail. I got 2 dogs, that's it. Ding. Live in a high rise by myself, nice car, and I would just like you to come correct.
And enhance.
Yeah, and it's just really not like that out there in the streets.
I know it's not.
So my very first live stream was a live stream with the Divester. And basically we had a 3-hour conversation about what divesting is, what pushes women to divest, the paradigm of white men, the paradigm of black men. And, you know, she made the basic point that white men treat black women better. White men are higher on the social totem pole. And it is better for black women to weigh their options as opposed to settling for underachieving, underperforming, useless, toxic black men, right? And, you know, we went back and forth about it in a very mild and respectful way. And I was basically making the point that you are incorrect about black men. And unfortunately, because of the efforts of white supremacy, the efforts of media, our brand as black men is bad, right? We are thought of as criminals. We're thought of as sexually deviant. We're thought of as not interested in being fathers, not interested in being partners. And unfortunately, a lot of our own women's baseline assumptions of us are consistent with that. But then I saw this comment. I saved it under one of my videos, and I think it really resonates with the main point that I really want to push in this video. So it's from Israel Chivari. I hope I don't butcher your name, brother. But he said, I had a black girlfriend. She was beautiful, had a sexy body, intelligent. Her dad came from Africa, so she had better values than many of the women here. However, since she grew up around other black American women and her mother died very young, she would go from a very feminine, cute woman with traditional values to an attitude when she couldn't get things exactly her way or was losing the conversation. She would yell, and I had to calmly tell her to stop. Our conversations are no reason for her to yell. She said that when I talked stern to her and laid down the law, she really liked it. She said that one of the things that attracted her to me was I wasn't a pushover. I really liked her. I could see myself marrying her. However, we were always fighting, and her outlook on money was atrocious. She thought coming out of school she would be making $90,000 with a bachelor's in biochemistry. You don't start at that amount. You work your way up. I am also a science major. She had racked up school debt like crazy. I told her, get any science job starting off, and once you have experience, move to another science job with higher pay. Anyways, my point is, even beautiful black women have some very deep issues regarding living below your means and being more feminine. I had to break up with her because we were always fighting, and I didn't want to keep fighting right after work. Since I'm Hispanic, I ended up meeting a girl from Ecuador. She is so feminine. She doesn't have much. However, she is willing to live below her means. I told her I am not rich, but I will always make sure she is taken care of. She told me she is willing to live under a bridge as long as she is with me. Hearing stuff like that makes a man feel good, makes a man feel wanted, and want to work hard to give his woman whatever she wants. Well, I'm going to propose to her in April. I've already met her family, and even though they are poor, they live within their means. All of them are studying and paying their way through school and know the struggle of working hard and not spending exorbitant amounts. Now, this comment was left under one of my videos probably a year and a half ago. And I think it basically makes the point that you can't outrun your problems. Like, this brother is Hispanic. Maybe the black woman he was dating was also a divester. She thought that black men were whatever and Hispanic men or white men were a better deal. And she took her business to his side. And what he noticed, just like what some white men notice, is the same thing that black men have been talking about, right? With that beauty that black women have, in my opinion, more than any other woman on the planet, with that sex appeal, with that intelligence, there's also a very dark side. The pun isn't necessarily intended. And that's what we need to talk about. So in my recent stream about Deion Sanders, I brought up a point that a buddy of mine made. He said that everybody else knows it's a race except black folks. That's why it's called race, right? Every other race is trying to do what's in the best interest of their race. However, we spend the majority of our time and our effort trying to assimilate to every other race, trying to run away from ourselves, right? And there are examples with black men, and there are definitely examples with black women. And I think that's typically what pushes women like Kayla Nicole to men like Travis Kelce, right? Travis Kelce, he strikes me as a chameleon type of white dude. And those white dudes historically tend to be really successful. They integrate really well. And unfortunately, in our community, if you have a lick of rhythm or lick of style or lick of athleticism, you're the best thing since Jesus. Because as a people, we have a baked in idea. The white man's ice is colder. The white woman is more beautiful. She's better. He's better. He's cooler, especially if he learns how to look and act and sound like us, right? Like now we see he cut off his fuckboy beard, and now he's rocking the stash that white women like. You know, I'm not seeing him wear the earrings anymore because basically, you know, you find a black woman with a white dude, she's trying to turn him into a black man. Just like you see the same with lesbians. They'll date a woman who presents like a man and want to be taken seriously. But I'm not mad at Travis, right? I think men like him make it historically, right? They blend in, you know. He would be the one who integrated with the Native Americans before Christopher Columbus killed them. He would be the one who was the missionary in Africa before his colleagues came in and stole our children and sold them off into slavery. He's one of those cool white dudes. I think those are the white dudes you should be wary of because they mean well, but ultimately they are a tool of the greater mechanism to keep us subjugated, you know, but we're so accustomed to celebrating mediocre whiteness. And on the flip side, you see us, black men, embrace the throwaways of white dudes. When we see black men date interracially, they're not getting the best and brightest white women. And we got to call that out. They're taking the white women that the white dudes don't even want. I saw this white female comedian. She said that she knew she was getting fat when black guys started hitting on her. So brothers, we got to stop taking that insult on the chin. We got to tighten up. Because on the flip side, whenever I see white dudes with black women, they have the top of the notch. You know, the black women who don't even date their fellow black dudes. But we can't be so desperate for cooperation. We can't be so desperate for being treated nicely that we compromise our standards, right? Especially in the interracial dynamic, right? I think your standards for a white woman should be higher than your standards for a black woman. And on the flip side as well, for my sisters who choose to date interracially, he needs to be better than a potential black man. But again, that goes back to why are you willing to compete for the white dude, but not compete for the black dude? Because they're black Travis Kelce's, they're black PhDs, they're black six-figure men. But kind of like I've said, because an unfortunate number of our sisters have been taught to see zero value in black men, even successful black men are perceived as not being worth competing for. And we come up with excuses, white men are nicer to me and white men are more accommodating and all that nonsense to excuse the fact that they're fetishizing you, to excuse the fact that they see your bullshit too, but you help them live out an erotic fantasy, so they'll overlook it. They like being dominated. They like having a boyfriend with a vagina. And because black men are intimately familiar with that, we've been emasculated from our mothers to girlfriends, to teachers at school, to employers. And when we make it, especially when we make it past white men, we're more sensitive to tolerating that nonsense. Whereas the white dude, you know, he's more accommodating, but we frame it as, oh, they're nicer, they're more humble, without putting it in full historical, psychological context.
Black women being unattainable, in a sense, is a big challenge for white men, and that makes them very desirable. I'm gonna conquer this woman, right? Or I'm gonna conquer this goal. So it's an unobtainable thing that has actually been obtained. So this goal being that thing. Right? The sex is amazing. That's something that I've heard from different white guys. Throughout the years, for some, it's the first thing that they mention. You know, this black woman is not necessarily a keeper because, you know, you find out that she maybe is not your type, but you were physically really attracted to her. You were attracted to her sexually. That happens, you know.
The idea that our women are the most race loyal is not true. And I'm sick of that being brought up in conversation. And another one is that interracial marriages with black women and white men last longer. And despite that being true, we don't break down why. We don't ask ourselves, why might that be true? What are the dynamics that make that true? I would suggest that one of the dynamics that make it true is the fact that black women tend to present a more feminine version of themselves to white men than they present to black men. Another thing is white women who go for black men typically go for black men because we give them the opportunity to be in the dominant role. So white dudes like being dominated and white women like to dominate, but they don't like that with themselves. Black men are more accommodating. So just like with the weight thing, it's easier to be with a black man. He's going to tolerate more. He's more exciting. His sex is better, the whole nine. But deep down, I don't respect him. Deep down, he works for me. Most people don't know that on the plantation, while the women were getting raped by the slave master, very often the men were getting raped by his wife. But we don't talk about that. We don't frame it that way because only women can be victims. And I think that's what leads to some of those statistics that we see of interracial marriages between black men and non-black women not working, just like with Jeezy and Jeannie Mai. Women generally do not respect black men. And part of the reason is because they observe how black women treat us, from our mothers to our sisters to our girlfriends. And those same women present a more docile, a more meek, a more restrained version of themselves to white men. And the other thing, white men like that shit. They are intimately familiar with divorce court. They're not trying to fuck up their lives, so they're just gonna eat it. You hear white men talk about they're not getting sex, they're not getting head. So perhaps those statistics about black women being better at marriage with non-black men than black men being with non-black women, it's more complex than we might assume. We have to be honest about our brand as black men, and we have to continue to work to change that. And similarly, sisters, we have to be honest about your brand as well. There is no doubt that black women are the global sex symbol. However, that was the case on the plantation as well. And instead of moving past that, an unfortunate number of our women are doubling down on it and re-emphasizing it because they're incapable of or unwilling to work on the auxiliary things that actually matter long term. The overemphasis on sex appeal is to overcompensate for the lack of soft skills. And it breaks my heart. And unfortunately, some women might not hear this message, but eventually it's going to run out. Age, gravity will happen. And despite all these examples of women who are still sexy even in their old age, your options shrink. Your opportunities shrink. So double down on being a good, reasonable, thoughtful, good listening woman as opposed to a bad bitch. And this is such a perfect example because even his GOAT quarterback, Pat Mahomes Jr., the best quarterback in the National Football League right now, and by the time he's done, might go up there above Brady. I hope he does. He's with a white woman. He's the product of a white woman. And it's time we stop taking the cheap way out and saying that these black men, successful black men, are weak. And that's why they just go for a white woman. No, this is a pattern. So there's more going on. Maybe, just like in Taylor Swift's song, she's willing to compete. She said, "You belong with me." Now imagine if our women took on that same mentality. No, black man, you belong with me. And that means you're worth me seeing the value in you enough to compete for you. Not to be entitled to you, but to compete for you. Brad is not worth the presentation of my best self. You are. I should not be assuming the worst in you. You're a reflection of me. Since these rumors of them dating, Travis Kelce's jersey sales have gone up by, I think they said 300%. So when Taylor Swift said, "You belong with me," she came with receipts. Now just imagine what our community would be like if our women and our men took on that same disposition. And instead of competing with each other, we listened to each other. And we understood that our points are valid. Our concerns are valid. There's a larger system working against us. And we can overcome it not by running to the arms of representatives of that system and finding peace and solace in their arms, but by locking in with each other. And just like I said with Deion Sanders, not waiting until whiteness sees value in us to see value in ourselves, and then complaining that Deion goes to Colorado from Jackson, or that successful black man goes to a white woman or Hispanic woman instead of the black women. We need to understand that he does that because just like Jackson State was shitty, some of our women are shitty as well. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on this. Appreciate you guys listening. And yeah, go listen to the Taylor Swift song. It's kind of funny when you consider it with what we're talking about. All right. Peace.